Welcome to Saturday versus Sunday. I'm John Barbin. With me is Jeff Dover, and let's talk football.
Yeah, it's another one of our state of affairs. We're going to be talking about the state of affairs of football in Colorado today.
Colorado. And I guess we can start with the Colorado Buffaloes.
Sure.
I mean, we're really only just to talk Buffaloes and Broncos, but I guess
You're not a big Rams guy?
I don't think too many people listening to this are going to want to hear about the Rams. Sorry, Rams fans.
Yeah, they were ranked. Their roster is 93rd out of 136.
Yeah,
so,
I just don't think too many Rams fans are going to be. That's already too much Rams talk.
There's one more Rams point.
Yeah.
They've had the same QB. It'll be his third year starting, and he's not bad. So
well, that goes with our continuity of QBs.
I know
that's a big deal.
That's something, right?
Yeah.
So
and they got a couple of good players that popped in the preseason.
Yeah,
in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
That one receiver, Horton,
Mm-hmm.
Torrey Horton. Yeah. So, anyways, well, there you go. We've covered the Rams. So on to the Buffaloes.
Right.
For the latest big news was Sanders overcame cancer. He had bladder cancer, had his bladder removed. I myself overcame cancer. I had half a lung removed, so kind of got to feel a little bond there. I kind of have to pull for him. Anyone who's been through cancer, had somebody in their family who's been through cancer, knows this thing. Like you have to, whether or not you
significant.
Whether or not you like Dion, you kind of have to sympathize with somebody who just went through that because it sucks. And emotionally, I'm still, it's 2 years and I'm still have a hard time with it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine going through that and then coaching a team. So there's no way I'd be able to do it. So good for him for already being back with the team.
Yeah, I remember. I'll never forget the time when you told me about it. You texted it to me, and I was sort of it felt like more of a phone call type situation. So I phoned you right after. But that was terrible. And Dion's had a lot of health concerns because he did last summer too. So this is just, and obviously the bladder cancer is a huge thing. You know, they have to deal with this off season. Wasn't with the team a lot in the summer, but is apparently healthy now and back. He did the press conference with his doctor to say that he's coming back. You know, and it is, you know, say what you will about the Buffaloes and Dion and Coach Prime and things like that, but Colorado, you know, football really captured the hearts and minds of like every college football fan and even adjacent sports fans the last couple of years because of the turnaround he's done, because of his style, because, you know, and it's made college football way more interesting. You know, the applications to the university have gone up 20%, which is not nothing, you know. And so it's going to be interesting to see what happens this year because it's the first time coaching without his son at quarterback. They lost a generational talent who won the Heisman Trophy, right, for both offense and defense. So it's going to be different, but I feel pretty good about their QB situation because I think that guy from Liberty is really good, and they got a 5-star to come in, which is a great setup to have because you just don't have to lean on him too much. But there's just a lot of other change throughout the rest of the team, which is going to be a bit of a concern.
Yeah, so he's been building that team mostly through the portal. He only signed 15 players in the 2025 recruiting class, but 8 of them are 4-stars, which is actually pretty good.
Yep.
Like that actually ranks relatively. Yeah. So he's got the 19th ranked portal class, which also had 4 4-stars. So he added 12 4-stars, which is pretty good for how small of a recruiting class that was at a high school. And I think overall, so their overall recruiting ranking when you put them both together isn't too bad. But 19th ranked portal, I mean, portal's just a thing. Some teams have been doing that to rebuild quickly. Maybe now that he's through this cancer mess and he's now into the 3rd, 4th year now, he's getting to a point where maybe he can start pushing it more with the high school players or balance that out where there's at least a few more high school versus the haul from portal. But so far it seems to be working. He's on the rise. Like you said, first time without Shedeur as his QB. So that's going to be interesting. Salter looks like he's got all the tools and
experience, which means something.
And if he can't go, the high school kid looks He's highly rated, so it
Yeah.
seems like there's plenty of talent at QB, regardless who starts.
Yeah. The one thing I'll say about the portal is that it's pretty much understood this year. The quality that was in the portal was less this year than last year overall. So just replenishing stuff through the portal might have hit more last year compared to this year coming up.
Yeah.
So I think that this year, not just with the Buffaloes, but like with other teams in general who like loaded up in the portal, I think it's going to be more hit and miss this year than it was last year. So there's a lot of stuff they had to replace. So it's so that, which I think is why, you know, they're predicted to be, instead of like top 3 in the conference, it's more like top 6, you know, because, and I think because of that turnover and they're relying on the portal so much. So it's and the other thing that strikes me about this team is that it feels like we're going to go into something that looks really different. They really did the air raid offense, passing it 60 times a game. Shedeur was great at that. And it feels like there's going to be more balance with throwing and running, trying to run the ball a bit better. But the offensive line wasn't good last year. It was terrible. And they've got 3 returning people. So I don't know. You never know when that happens. Like
one of them's a 5-star.
One, like some of the experience is good, but then if the line overall wasn't good last year, then when you have it all coming back, how much better could it be? But it's no. So it potentially is going to be a different looking team with hopefully a bit better defense and running the ball a bit more, which will be really interesting to see how that fits with sort of Coach Prime style, and instead of throwing it around so much.
I don't think they could run it less. They were dead last in D1, 134th.
Yeah.
It's pretty, 65 yards a game. That's, man, is that ever bad?
It's really bad.
I can't believe they won as many games as they did with that little rushing. Now, all 4 of their top receivers are in the NFL right now.
Mm-hmm.
So they had serious talent at receiver that could just beat whoever's covering them. Like Hunter was probably the highlight, but all of them could shake loose. So that apparently they're replacing that with some pretty decent recruiting talent there. So from the reviews we've read, it seems as though the receiver room should be fine. It's really, the question is, can they actually run the ball or not? Because otherwise, I think you're just going to hit a ceiling. I think the defense might actually be able to reload pretty good here as well. And it actually improved a lot last year. So if that trend can keep moving, I think the defensive line, from what I've read, should be pretty good. So we'll see. Obviously, they lost their best secondary defender in Hunter, so they're going to have to reload there too. But the other issue is, in this conference, if everyone else is kind of reloading too, are they just going to be held static? Like, I don't think they've gained. The problem is I don't think they've really gained ground on too many of the teams ahead of them. Like, I don't think they've gained ground on Texas Tech or ASU or some of the teams that kind of were battling with last year. And it might be that they're just kind of stuck in the exact same spot. I mean, I think one of the huge wild cards is if they could run the ball at all here. Yeah.
Well, and to that point, I really like how their schedule lines up for them. Okay. So they missed Texas Tech, which is good because some people are picking them to be first in the Big 12. So that's nice. They start out with a colossal game against Georgia Tech at home. There's really one of the opening season games there.
Huge test right out of the gate.
It's going to be really tough, and Georgia Tech might win. Probably, their Georgia Tech's going to be more than a double-digit favorite, I think, in that one. But it's not a conference game, so it doesn't, doesn't kill them for that. But then they've got Delaware at Houston, Wyoming. So I think they could be like 3-1 at least by the time they play BYU at home. And so then that's going to be the first Big 12 test. Then it's at TCU, Iowa State. Then they have a bye. And then they go at Utah, host Arizona, at West Virginia, then another bye, and then Arizona State and Kansas State. So the 2 most important Big 12 games are going to be at the end. Salter is either going to be ensconced as the starting QB and having things figured out, hopefully by then, or if they've had to start the freshman, he'll be could have a few games
10
under
games
his
experience
belt.
For the 2 biggest games of the year.
There you go. And they get the first one's Arizona State at home, which is huge. Then the last one's at Kansas State. So, but that's not bad. Like that's a pretty good warm up, key game at the beginning, and then a nice warm up to get you into the Big 12 schedule. So, and then some of the tough ones like Iowa State, and Arizona State are at BYU or at home. So that's good.
Well, and that BYU game, BYU's starting a new QB because Retzlaff is out of there.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to be in a little bit of transition growing pains at the same time when they face each other. So my guess is that game won't turn out anywhere near as ugly as the last time they played each other.
Yeah.
So, well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But they're going to be interesting to watch. I mean, I think they've sold out their season tickets faster than they've ever had before. So,
Yep.
And the curiosity's through the roof here with him, with Sanders finally coaching somebody other than Shedeur at QB. So I just can't wait to see what that's going to look like. I think he's only ever coached Shedeur his whole coaching career, I think.
Yeah, it's something like that because
he's coached him from like Pee Wee to high school all the way through. I think he's always been his coach. I don't think he's ever had. I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure Sanders' entire coaching career has always been with his son.
Yeah.
So
and I think that normally, if just in a vacuum, if I was looking at this team and how much they lost and how much turnover there is, I'd be really concerned and predict them to not do very well. But because I feel pretty good about their QB situation, even though they're relatively new and it'd be the new freshman. And their schedule, between that and their schedule and the fact that the defensive line should be not bad, I feel that's pretty good. That's a good place to start in terms of at this day and age with all this turnover and stuff. So I think that they're, like you said, they're going to be, must watch TV and they're interesting. So, and this year's going to be, and it's going to be, they're going to look different than they did before. And they're going to be doing it in a different way, which is really going to says a lot about what Coach Prime's coaching is really like now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and they've added different coaches, like Marshall Falk is there now too. They keep adding these big time people. So we'll see. Over under at 5.5. You think that's kind of low, or you think it's kind of where it belongs?
Well, I mean, I think that speaks to all the turnover, and then and in the Big 12, they're Texas Tech, Arizona State, and Kansas State have taken, I feel like, steps forward. So this is going to be tough. So I can understand that, but I'd go for the over on that one. I think they can. I'm betting on the running game can't get any worse. QB should be all right. Hopefully the defense they'll continue to take a step forward.
6.5 feels like the right number there.
Yeah,
but well, all right. So moving on to a team with, I think, higher expectations is the Denver Broncos. Their over unders 9.5. Plus 300 to win the AFC West. Only the Chiefs are ahead of them. I guess they're tied with the Chargers the last time I looked at these numbers. But now that Rashawn Slater's out, the left tackle for the Chargers for the year, I don't know if that number's moved much or if they were actually ahead of the Broncos and now they're tied. Either way, that's something that has to be factored into the difference between the Broncos and the Chargers here. Either way, they're both tied for second as the last time I looked at the number for winning the AFC West. Now this team, I don't know if people were paying too much attention. This was one of the best defenses in the NFL. Now they had the defensive player of the year, right? Surtain. They were the number 3 overall defense, the number 2 rush defense. They led the NFL in sacks. Is this just obvious, or were they kind of under the radar?
Yeah, I think because they were the 3rd best team in their division, so that's why it was under the radar. But they've got a fantastic defense. It was also, I think, it was the 2nd best defense in the division because the Chargers had fewer points against than they did. So that's probably another reason why it was under the radar. But But anyway, and Kansas City's defense wasn't that, all 3 of their defense are really good. But so they've got an amazing defense. Hopefully Bo Nix takes another step forward. I don't know if the Chargers are significantly better. This is what some of these NFL teams are really interesting because they're sort of just running everything back is what it feels like. And if it didn't work last year, why would it work this year? Or you could see them taking a step back. So I think Denver is better. And I think they'll be better this year. And I'm not sure if I can say that about the Chargers. So because of that, and I don't know if Kansas City's going 15-2 again. So I think that I've got high expectations for Denver. I'd pick them to finish at least in the top 2 of their division this year. And I also like how their schedule shapes out. Like they start off with the Titans and the Colts at the beginning, which I think are very manageable games. Then they get a game with the Chargers, but they're in their both games against the Raiders are in the second half of the season, and the last 2 games are against the Chiefs and the Chargers, which could be like must-win type situations depending on where they are in the standings. So, so that's a nice layout for that. So,
yeah, the Chargers, you might say, kept pace with them through the draft. Both teams added a couple of key players. Like they both added what should be a difference maker at running back, but then the Chargers lost their star left tackle. So that might be where you say head to head, the Broncos have pushed. On paper, you could say that I would put the Broncos ahead of the Chargers for no other reason than who really is going to be the exact same after losing a left tackle and a star left tackle. Yep. And even though they say, I mean, it's not meant to be a Chargers analysis, but even if they say Joe Alt's moving over, well, then now you've just lost your right tackle. And somewhere in there, you're starting someone at tackle you weren't meaning to start a tackle. So just that alone, to me, puts the Broncos ahead of them.
Yeah. And you're facing top of the line defensive ends all the time, like
specifically against the Broncos.
Yeah. So, and it's and the Raiders and has Crosby and that's a really important position. So no, I think you're right about that. I love the Broncos draft too, just in terms of like people and where they came from. So I think RJ Harvey is an excellent running back. I think that was a bit of a steal that late in the second round. Yep. And I love getting edge rushers from LSU and Bama. I think defensive line from good teams in the SEC is always a safe bet there too. So I think those are, that only helps their depth, I think, on the defense and, so yeah. So
and theoretically, they picked up the best cornerback in the draft in Barron.
Right.
Which this team's already stacked on defense. And from what I've read, they're expecting him to be a day one on the field starting.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And then Pat Bryant, the number 1 receiver out of Illinois, if he can make an impact and punch up the offense here, because the Broncos offense was sort of middle of the pack.
Yeah.
They seem to actually score a lot of TDs, but they were in generally middle of the pack on both run and pass. It might be because their defense was so good, they were just always in good position and in good field position too. So they didn't need to accumulate a lot of yards to score a lot of TDs. But if Harvey and Bryant can have an impact, then they've just leveled up the offense too. Assuming Nick's takes another step forward and doesn't somehow regress in year 2. But I'm guessing people are going to give the benefit of the doubt to Peyton, that he knows what to do with a QB and to progress him along. And I know they talk about a sophomore slump, but I think they just like to say sophomore slump. I don't think that's actually necessarily a thing that has to happen.
Yeah.
They say, oh, the league has figured him out. The BS. I don't think that's a thing. You either, I don't think it's across the board that you expect a sophomore slump. The other 2 big ifs that could throw this defense over the top to 100% the NFL's best defense is they picked up 2 Pro Bowlers from the Niners, safety Hufanga and linebacker Dre Greenlaw. Now, they both are just injury riddled for the past number of years. Greenlaw tore his Achilles running onto the field in the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
remember that?
Crazy.
So that he's healed from that, but he's just always banged up. And Hufanga doesn't seem to be able to stay in for a whole season, but he has, like, when he's healthy, he has that Troy Polamalu just does his own thing, almost like a position-lifts safety, a little bit like Kyle Hamilton, where he just sort of goes where he thinks he's supposed to go. And it doesn't even look like it's part of the play, but he's got the nose for the ball. He's always where the ball is somehow, and he's always making a big play, even though he's not really the fastest guy or he's not the strongest guy, but he's just always in the right place. So if those 2 stay healthy, oh my goodness, this defense is going to get even better, which it's hard for it to get much better. It's already top 2, top 3.
And it's the only thing that I was thinking about is sort of like, they went 10-7 last year, and I felt like they were better than that. And when I look at their schedule last year, these are the teams they beat. Okay. So it's at Tampa, at the Jets. Jets weren't good. Home against the Raiders, at the Saints, home against the Panthers, home against the Falcons, at the Raiders, home against the Browns, home against the Colts. And then the last game of the season against the Chiefs when the Chiefs were resting all the people.
Not a real game.
Yeah. So those are they beat up on the not good teams last year because they lost to like the Bengals, the Chargers, the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Chargers, the Steelers. You know what I mean? So they haven't. That's a pretty telling, so they got to take a step up this year and beat like a team with the winning record and stuff like,
Yeah, they got to beat a team that's expected to be in the playoffs.
Yes, exactly. So
they got their asses handed to them by the Bills in the playoffs.
Yes.
Yeah. It was funny because you know how they drove down and scored that TD on that long pass in the first drive in that game, and then they didn't score again.
Yeah.
And I had a buddy of mine that lives across the street's a huge Broncos fan, and he just texted me, "Bo effing Nix." And then by halftime, he's like, "All right, well, we'll see what next year looks like," because then the Bills just steamrolled them. But good for him for making the playoffs in the first year.
Yep.
The defense is legit, but the thing, which I think it'll all be there, the defense will all be there. It's just whether or not the offense can. Hang in there. It has to take a step forward.
Has to take a step forward. Can't be in a sophomore slump in any way, shape, or fashion. And has to take a step up. And I think if Harvey can, take some of the carries, I think that's going to be great.
You think, do you think the Slater loss for the Chargers? I think it's a big deal. Do you think it's a big enough deal?
Yeah, I know you think it's a big deal. You texted me as soon as it happened, and you've talked about it 3 times already. Yeah, I mean, I think yes, I think when you, as a football coach, when you can pencil in like an all-star left tackle and like never have to worry about it, and they're always there and they don't make mistakes, and you don't, and every now and then they might give up a pressure or something like that, but like it'd be just so nice to write that name in the starting lineup and like not have to worry about it.
Yep.
So, and now when you switch it, I think it's all the stuff you said before, like you're going to move your right tackle over there. Who's going to be going at right tackle? Like the second someone gets a pressure, like, or gets a sack around the left tackle, you're going to be like, oh, that's now do we have to change how we do stuff? Do we not have to run to that side? Do we have to shift protection or something? It's just like an added layer of something that you don't normally have to worry about. So yeah, I think it's a big deal. I have no idea who the backup is, or so, like it potentially, if it could be someone good, we don't know, but I mean, yeah, I think that's a real problem. I think if you're going to lose your starting left tackle, this is the time to do it.
So you have at least some amount of time to make adjustments. Yeah.
Yep. Well, and also like who we're going to put there, like try it out with a couple different people in the preseason or something, like that's so,
scrambling to reshuffle the line mid-season is probably not a great idea.
No, like, or at least even like by week 1, because you've installed everything at that point, So I think it's really bad, but I also think that injuries are a part of the thing in the NFL, and it's just something everyone has to deal with. But like, there was another one of the other preseason games where the all-star, it was a guard who was really good. Was it for Washington? But it was carried off with a knee injury, and it was at home, and the crowd just went dead silent. And it was and it's hopefully it's nothing that bad. I think it was a meniscus or something like that. But yeah, like
also an Eagles. I think Landon Dickerson might have been him. He went out too. I think that might be
the one I was talking about. That I was thinking about. But yeah, no, I think that's you don't want to lose an all-star offensive lineman.
No, especially if that's and not a lot. Your guards got to be pretty good for the crowd to know who the guards are.
Yeah, so exactly.
So. Anyways, we've kind of strayed all over the place here. So we think Broncos are probably pretty firmly second in that division. But as Jeff just said, they got to beat like some real teams this year. They can't just keep beating up on the crappy. They better beat the bad teams. But then now they got to beat 2 or 3 teams with winning records.
The next step. If you take the next step up, this is why they got Peyton as coach. Is for this part right now, like not to take the next step from making the playoffs to like being a bit better team. So
yep. And as far as the Buffaloes go, it's super curious to see what Sanders looks like coaching without Shedeur.
Yeah, and a really different team this year in a wide open Big 12. So
yep. All right, I think that's pretty good.
Yep.
So that's the state of affairs for Colorado. And for Jeff Dover, I'm John Barber, and that's your Saturday versus Sunday podcast.